Hi all, welcome to Return to Self. I had a really interesting download that came through this morning, and it's a continuation of a theme that seems to have been going on over the past month or so. I think this consciousness would be referred to as probably the spiritual leaders and the visionary. So, if you feel like you're a part of the collective that is being called into spiritual leadership, or you're a visionary that feels like you can work with others in relation to spiritual leadership, teaching them how to tap into their own power. You can see the bigger picture, the sort of like the bigger plan in relation to the Ascension process. I feel like this is probably for all of you, basically. So what I was being shown by Jesus is that at this stage in our conscious sort of evolution, we've reached the point where many of us are being called within. And actually, this was a part of the reason why I called this channel Return to Self, because I feel like many of you, especially in this collective, I think that these channeled messages are aimed at, are really needing to go within to find their inner authenticity, to work through their shadow aspects, and to work through some of those kind of like core wounds or inner child type wounds. So during this message, I was being shown that your heart chakra is being activated. Basically, you may be feeling like you need to come out of the shadows and start working with people in a really powerful way. I feel like for this collective, there's a lot of you that are feeling a lot more just sort of like self-empowered now, and perhaps a lot more empowered than you did, say, kind of 2-3 years ago, or even 6 months ago in a lot of cases. You've really learned how to apply the spiritual knowledge, I guess, that you've learned along the way to improving your life, to manifesting your life purpose, and just for creating the life that you want. But I also feel like for this collective, you're really being asked to help support others to get there as well. I feel like this is a really, really important role, because I think that you guys are the way showers, basically. I feel like you've all probably found your own unique and powerful kind of ways of, I guess, integrating all of this kind of like knowledge, basically, to be able to teach others how to improve their lives, to improve their life circumstances, how to get in touch with themselves, how to feel better about themselves, about the life that they're living, so that they can sort of recalibrate themselves and sort of start existing in the sort of the higher kind of frequencies as well. So I did pull out 5 cards earlier, so I wasn't sure whether I'd just be doing a free-flowing channeled message today, or whether I would be using oracle cards or tarot cards. But I did get guided to pull out cards, and actually this time it was 6 cards that I was being shown, and there was a very specific one that I'll talk about at the end. So what I pulled out first was lead. So I feel like I said, that you guys are being called to lead probably large groups of people in relation to recalibrating their frequency, is what I'm being told. There's a lot of people out there, I think, who are feeling a sense of sort of like boredom or unrest in their life. They've probably been doing a lot of healing, is what I'm being shown. I'm being shown an emphasis on a necklace around that's sort of sitting around that heart area. And I feel like now you've kind of reached a point where you feel like, what's next? You're really wanting to move into this next stage of your life purpose. My guides are saying to me that many of you, or probably all of you really, are enlightened or more enlightened than the average person. You also possess or have been working on integrating a lot of your masculine energy, which I feel like is probably the reason that you've got to this point, is that you've been able to integrate or balance both your feminine and masculine energies, and you're in touch with both of them and you're comfortable using both of them when you need to. So I feel like for a lot of you, the masculine energy that you've been integrating has actually been sort of, I don't know, waking up some part of you that wants you to apply action to your life now. So a lot of this is going to be about really sort of applying yourself to what you feel like you need to be doing in the world. For some of you, it could be starting up spiritual businesses in your communities. It could be doing something like this, sort of utilizing YouTube or Facebook or social media as a means of connecting with larger kind of groups of people and sort of helping to guide them through this ascension process. The reason I feel that you guys are capable and able to do this is because you've actually worked through a lot of your own shadow side. You've spent a lot of time dealing with sort of difficult and challenging relationships, circumstances, it's just been I feel or sense a lot of emotional overwhelm that you've experienced. And I think through these periods, you've gained a lot of inner knowledge, inner strength. And they're also saying to me determination as well. So many of you have got an inner sense of determination. And with this knowledge that you've, gained along the way, you can now help spread that, between sort of like towards people who are just starting to go through that whole ascension process. They're showing me a pearl at the moment, and sometimes the hardest things in life, like the pearl, for example, it's something that's, impacted by sort of kind of years and years of kind of sand and sort of dirt, and it's gritty and it's, sort of like it's challenging to grow a pearl, but you've been able to do it, and now you can pass on this knowledge to other people who really need it. They're saying to me, like, a lot of this, the stuff that you will be passing on is actually in relation to self-love, inner child, self-worth type things. I feel like you as a cohort have been really determined to process this stuff. And I think that that's why you are specifically being called, because you found a way to break through. I'm also just getting the words through now, backbone. So you've actually had the backbone to be able to, do the inner work that you've needed to. Not everybody does. Everybody's on different journeys, has different experiences, but you guys particularly have a strong backbone. Okay, so the next card I pulled out was Confront. So I think that, like, this is just a follow on from the other card, but basically you can teach people how to confront their shadow sides. You can teach people how to walk through the emotional sort of turmoil and troubles and sort of situations and experiences that they might find themselves in, using the wisdom that you've gained along the way. All of that wisdom is really important. It's been hard earned, and it's something that others can apply to change, to change their own lives. And again, it's all going to be around emotions. It's like challenging emotions, challenging circumstances. It feels very sort of like, I guess heart chakra sort of based type issues. I feel like you will help to kind of get people to a point where they can have a fresh start. you kind of need to teach people how to knock all of their sort of previous foundations down to be able to start sort of building something fresh and something new, because you can't have those old energies in these new frequencies that they're going to be going into. You need soil. It needs to be nourished. It needs to be, sort of tended to, for it to grow into something fertile. So the next one is embrace. So this is about you guys really embracing your purpose. Again, applying that sort of determination. For some of you might be resonating with a bit of a dragon sort of like type energy. It's not something I often see, but at the moment I'm just seeing an image of a red dragon. I'm getting the word stamina. So I feel like these new energies coming through are really helping to empower people, to make them speak up, to sort of to speak out to, really. I feel like this is really sort of like, this isn't necessarily inner work. This is real sort of practical application. So it's a lot more doing than being, I guess, if that makes sense. And it's also, so in this card, I'm seeing a real sort of like glow around this man's sort of chest kind of area. And it's actually, I think your glow, probably your aura, your frequency actually triggers activations in others. They're saying to me it will trigger the masculine energy activations in others. So this will create, I guess, a new pathway for those, for others to kind of start walking through. And it's also, so they're also going back to this card again. So underneath this man, there's also an image of a globe, basically. And within that is an image of a heart, I guess, with sort of like roots and things like that coming out of it. So I also feel like this is about the sort of like the changes that you're helping people to make is actually what helps to improve sort of like the circumstances on the earth. If we learn how to transmute our shadow sides and things like that, it creates much healthier communities in the long run, and that has ripple effects. It has ongoing impacts on the environment, the social politics at the time, the earth's sort of basic energy. Again, I'm just getting the word lineage coming through as well. So I feel like this particular group has probably been around for quite a while. I think the majority of you would identify as being old souls, because I think that you guys have actually had a lot of life experiences where you have probably been teaching, or you've developed gifts in different lifetimes. So you could also have had ancestry where, you're sort of just one in many families, I guess, that have had gifts that have kind of been passed on down through the line, and you're just doing the next lot of work in relation to some of that ancestry lineage type work. So the next one is feeling alone. So there is, again, going to be that cohort of people that feel alone. It actually doesn't feel as lonely as it did previously, but it's still hard, because I feel like for some of you, you still feel like you're in a bit of a fog. You don't exactly know what you're meant to be doing, but you do feel it on some intuitive level at the same time, which is a bit odd to say, but I think you feel like you know that you're being led somewhere, but you don't know all of the details at this stage. So they're just showing me a lantern on this lady's that this lady is holding, and I think it's that you're being guided through this. Spirit's helping to guide you through it with the intuitive sort of guidance that you get at this stage. I'm also getting Jesus popping back through again and saying I think that he is also sort of looking after people that are in this position. You will definitely identify as the lone wolf though. So for many of you, you may feel like there's not a lot of people that you can connect with. You may not know that many people that kind of vibrate at the same frequency or are interested in the same things that you do. You're very loving. I see that you have a big heart, and not everybody has that, you know, sort of capacity because they haven't done the work. I feel like you've done a lot of the work. So you've got support, you are being guided and led. So the next one that came through was coming together. So Spirit was emphasizing to me, not only are you guys going to be spiritual leaders and visionaries, but you're actually going to be working with each other as well. So this isn't just about a one-man sort of like show. It's about working with others to achieve specific goals. So at some point you might actually start finding other people who are resonating with your sort of like ideas, your intuitions, you know, sort of your sort of visions really for the world. And I feel like you'll begin to attract people who also identify with those feelings. They can see the bigger sort of like perspective, and they'll want to work with you. They'll want to contribute is what I'm getting told. So it's definitely a good opportunity to work really closely with everybody. We all have different, even as, you know, sort of visionaries and spiritual leaders, we all have our own unique gifts. You can have people with totally different gifts that can all contribute to the bigger whole. Again, I'm being shown a pearl and then the love. So I think the sort of like the thing that connects you with other people is that you have been through a lot. You've developed into that pearl, and you're wanting to give out into the world now, which is what other people will also be feeling and wanting to do as well. So the last card was interesting. So it didn't actually get pulled out, but I saw it in my head as a sort of a bit of a sort of clairvoyant kind of image, I guess. And it really, I understand now why they've told me to pull it out. So it's actually power. So again, what I was getting from this one is that on one side there's a old man who sort of like looks like some sort of what sort of wise elder, I guess. And on the other side is a lion. So I feel like it's Spirit reinforcing this idea of you have gained in wisdom and knowledge, and you're now coming into a place of inner power. And you need to get out there and actually start achieving some of the things that you want to achieve. Like I said, I feel like it's all of the practical applications of things. So if it's, you know, you want to start doing YouTube videos, it might be learning how to edit. It might be just sitting down and actually filming something and not worrying whether it's perfect or not perfect or any of that, but actually just starting the process of it, because it will build. Each sort of step builds upon the next. So even if you're not feeling 100% confident now, you will be able to do it. You just have to have, kind of trust in yourself. Take it easy. It doesn't have to be done overnight. It can just be a slow kind of unwinding process, as long as you're actually doing something. Even if you're wanting to set up like Facebook websites or things like that, or just a business website, just making sure you're taking the slow steps. Like maybe set yourself one goal each day, or whatever works for your schedule, and actually start applying yourself to what you feel like you need to be doing. Like I said, it's going to be different for each person, so it's a bit hard to go into specifics about that, but just follow your own resonance and what feels intuitively right for you. All right then. All right, well, I'll end it here, but thank you for listening. Please like or subscribe if you find this useful at all, and I'll see you for the next one. All right, bye for now.